Good afternoon and welcome to Heart to Heart, a program which aims to help you understand and for you to become your loving self at KMET 1490 AM ABC News Radio Live. I'm Dr. Mitra Rashidian. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and a certified sexologist in full-time private practice located in beautiful Encino, Southern California, and I'm here with my very wonderful, amazing, funny, best friend, Dr. Robert Jaffe, who's also a licensed marriage and family therapist. And we just had a conversation that was really laughable right before the program started. So we're just continuing to, carry that with us, in this program. And he told me, I said something to him, and he said that, that my expectation was for him to read my mind, and I said yes, and then he said that's a female thing. So there you go.
There we go.
We have this among therapists too. So we have some expectations that sometimes they are realistic, sometimes they're not, but we want them, right? So anyway, we're human too, and then we get into those kind of discussions that we are talking about here about them as well. So we would like for you to join us and share your side of the story. See, we just did, right? And it's a good thing to laugh about things rather than, to become defensive or, get into the disagreements and all of that. And, that's what this program is all about. We want you to, really stay in the moment and have fun with whatever is happening, because whether you have fun with it or not, the minute comes and goes by, and then, so anyway, we're glad you're here. Please call us at 951-922-3532, or you can also join us, via our private, emails and phone numbers, which are located at our webpage at KMET. And so, welcome.
Thank you.
Dr. Robert Jaffe.
Thank you. So, yeah, as you were talking about that, I was thinking of this saying that I heard that reminded me of, saying things and not getting defensive and laughing. And that saying is, angels can fly because they take themselves so lightly.
Okay.
And so it's a paradox, right? Because we all have these bodies and these lives that we live, and it's all very serious because this is the only time around, or so we think. I don't know if that's accurate, but while we're in these bodies, we sort of feel like that. We feel like, oh, this is the only time I have, and I got to make the most of my life. But the reality is that it is all serious, and it isn't so serious. If you look at any one individual's life in the spectrum of the universe, we are a speck in our solar system, which is a speck in our galaxy, which is a speck among millions of galaxies, and those are all specks in the universe. And so, one individual, what is that? It's sort of, it's less than an ant in terms of significance in one sense. In another sense, we are not ants, we are human. We have a spirit, we have a soul, and what we do does matter.
Right.
So being able to recognize that both are true, and that if we feel like things get too heavy and too serious, we can remember that we are a speck. And if we think that that we're not paying enough attention, we can remember that we matter. So just wanted to say that. And I like that saying, that angels can fly because they take themselves so lightly.
Exactly. And, that's such a philosophical opening that we just provided to our program today.
Oh, okay.
Such insightful and meaningful, and we're not saying at the same time that what happens to us are not important and what we want are not important. However, how we face challenges is important.
Yes, yes.
You know.
It isn't, well, what we believe, what we've learned in psychology is that it isn't what happens to us, but how we respond to what happens to us that shapes our character. And when we've developed a strong, loving, powerful character, uh, that that character then shapes our destiny, and our destiny shapes the world.
Exactly.
One person can make a difference and does make a difference.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So we also would like to uh, inform you that our program starting September 9th is going to be reduced to 1 hour. We're going to go to from 4 to 5, and we would like to invite you to please follow us at that hour. And this program belongs to you, and we want you to know your story. We need your participation, so please join us. Tell us what works for you. What can we do to make this show more enjoyable for you? We are, of course, making a few changes, and with the hope that the program is going to become more appealing and more enjoyable for you, more productive, more meaningful. So while we are doing that, we like to hear from you so we can include, what you want into that, changes that are going to happen, soon within just a short couple of weeks or so.
Absolutely.
Right. And so, but basically the theme of the program is going to remain the same. It's going to be the two of us. Maybe, we may have some guests, joining us so that you can benefit from their expertise. And then we're going to introduce, a few new subjects. So we're trying to, even though the time is going to be shorter, but the variety is going to be more. And we hope that that will be more joyful for you. And we hope that for those of you who are joining us at 3 o'clock, you can actually join us at 4 o'clock as well. We don't want to lose you, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
So with all that said, this is the hour where we talk about human sexuality. And of course, when we go back to 4 o'clock, human sexuality is going to be a part of the program. So we're not going to lose it, definitely. For one thing, that is what I have done for the past 25 years, researching about human sexuality. So I'm not going to put it aside. So today for our program, we decided to talk about, a challenging situation for men about when they want to have sex and they actually lose their ability to, some of them, of course, not everybody, not all men, lose their ability to maintain an erection. And I have a few couples in my private practice that's their presenting issues, and of course they want to know what to do and why this is happening to them. I have these men who are relatively speaking young, age like 30, 32, 35, 40, 45, a time that you would say that's a peak time of men being strong and having a full erection when they want to have sex, and they shouldn't have a problem. And they're wondering, nothing specific is apparently going on in their lives, but they just cannot maintain the full erection long enough for them to have a joyful sexual experiences, both for themselves and for their partners.
Right.
Right.
And is it just that they can't maintain an erection, or is it that they also can't get an erection?
Both happens.
Uh-huh.
Both happens.
Mm-hmm.
Both happens, and then primarily what I see the most is they can maintain the erection.
Okay.
That's what I,
Yeah.
I mean, they have the desire, they have the erection. Some can last longer.
Uh-huh.
Some can last like nothing.
Yeah.
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 So it's a mix of everybody's different, right?
Right.
So, and I thought, we haven't talked about, male sexuality for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we just, open up, this week with this topic?
Right.
And see, what are some of the contributing factors actually that causes male premature ejaculation. Actually, that's the term.
Well,
that's the
premature ejaculation is one issue, and then also sometimes there are men who can get an erection but have trouble ejaculating.
Yes.
We call that retarded ejaculation.
Right.
And then we also have people, like I was just commenting on, that have a trouble getting an erection to begin with. And so what I say to all of my clients when they first come in, regardless of what the issue is, whether it's a sexual issue, whether it's a work issue, whether it's a relationship issue, I always say that the subconscious runs the show.
Right.
And people go, they nod their heads, but I don't think people really understand what that means.
Right.
So I'm just going to comment that we all have a conscious mind, and our conscious mind is what we're conscious of being aware of. So in my conscious mind right now, I'm aware that I'm holding a coffee cup. I'm aware that I'm speaking and I'm looking at you, Dr. Rashidian, Mitra. And I'm looking at the computer screen. I have a desk in front of me. I'm talking about something that's near and dear to my heart, and so that's what I'm aware of. Subconsciously, there's all sorts of stuff going on, and because it's below the level of conscious awareness, I'm not fully aware of it. I may be semi-aware of it. For example, I had a conversation with my sister this morning, and that conversation is still with me, but I'm not thinking about it a lot, but it's still in the back of my mind. And then there's a whole host of other things. All of my work and everything else that I do is also kind of going on. We're semi-aware of that. And if I start focusing on it, then I can bring the subconscious to consciousness. Once I'm aware of it and I'm conscious of it, then I can do something with it.
Right.
But I can't do something if I'm not fully conscious of it. And so there's the subconscious. Then there's also the unconscious. And the unconscious is the deepest level of our mind. The unconscious is the part of us that runs our bodies, creates all the chemical reactions, facilitates all the systems, the excretory, the respiratory, all systems of our body. And so those are the three levels of mind. And in psychology, we deal mostly with the conscious and the subconscious.
Exactly.
And so that's what I wanted to comment on.
Exactly. So we just got the notice for our commercial break, and I want to thank you, Dr. Jappi, for that wonderful introduction.
Sure.
And we will continue right after a few minutes of commercial, activities.
Absolutely.
Right?
Please stay with us.
Phone app today.
Welcome back from our commercial break. This is Heart to Heart program at KMET 1490 AM, ABC News Radio Live, and Dr. Mitra and Dr. Robert here. We're offering you a program about, human sexuality. Today's topic is erectile dysfunction. For those of you who are listening, to us, thank you, and we appreciate your sharing your hour with us. And just a brief note that we are moving to 1 hour show from September 9. So our program is going to be from 4 to 5 instead of 3 to 5. And we hope that you are able to join us then. And in this program, we would like to hear from you. Please call us 951-922-3532. And so let's continue, right?
I also wanted to add that if for some reason you miss a show or you miss a couple of our shows, they are available on the archives. Right?
Yes, they are. And also Facebook.
And also Facebook.
Yeah. Yes.
So you can always tune into a show that you missed if you're enjoying our show and you're not able to make the 4 o'clock hour. you can always pull it up and listen at your convenience.
Exactly. Well, thank you for that reminder.
Sure.
Okay. So, what is erectile dysfunction? And I got these notes from Mayo Clinic because to me that's a very, very reliable, source. And when I need something that I don't have the information, or I want the updated information, I go to their website. They have all the updated research and everything. So some of what we are sharing here today, and then you may have questions, so you can go back to Mayo Clinic website and we'll get more information as you need it, because what we offer here may open up a whole new dynamic and series of questions for you that you can search it for yourself, and you can also bring them here to us, and we are going to be happy to further expand on it, explore it for you, answer your questions to the best that we can.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay, so erectile dysfunction. It says that erectile dysfunction or impotence is the inability to get and keep an erection firm enough for sex.
Firm enough for sex.
Right. And since the beginning of my becoming a therapist, I have had this issue commonly happen among couples. And then some of them, the onset of this goes back to the first time that they want to have sex. Some of them actually, this is a situational, factor. For some, it just happens out of nowhere. They don't know why. Why I was fine, I was great, I could go on for this amount of time, or all of that, and then suddenly they're unable to do that, right? So basically, for some men, initially that is not a concern when it happens, but for many, it's a major concern, right? And it's a valid concern to have, because without having a full erection or a firm erection, obviously men are not able to perform sexually, right? And that causes distress, stress, anxiety, for themselves and for their partner.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And then, definitely if it continues to happen and they are not able to do something about it, certainly it impacts self-confidence, certainly it impacts, self-worth, impacts relationship. And we see that, many arguments happens between couples because of this situation, right? But one thing that we don't see is that how the causes of this is identified. And we see that some people immediately jump on taking pills, jump on taking supplements, and without even going to their physicians to understand the cause of it.
Right.
Right. So they try to look elsewhere for solution, and that's due to the shame and not feeling good about themselves when they experience erectile problem.
Yeah, I think shame and it is a big factor,
right?
Because as a man, I feel, and many men feel, like our ability to get and maintain an erection is a sign that we are powerful and strong men. And we're supposed to be powerful and strong men, and our erection is a sign of that. And then if we have a problem with that, then we feel somehow that we're not a real man, or we're a failure as a man.
Exactly. What you just said reminded me of a movie that Mel Gibson was playing. The name of the movie was What a Man, what a woman, what women want.
Yeah, what women wants.
Yes.
And Mel Gibson could read their minds.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Yes. So in this part of the movie, he was about to have sex with another female actress in the play, and he couldn't get an erection. Right.
Right.
So he tried and tried and tried, and he got frustrated, and finally he went to the bathroom and started talking to his, genital area.
He gave his penis a pep talk.
A pep talk, and said, "But that's what we do."
That's that's what. Yeah. It was sort of like a coach with his football team.
Yes.
Okay, we had a bad quarter, but let's go back out and
Right.
and we can wow them.
Yeah, and he did, of course.
And he did, and he did.
So we see that the reason I brought up this example is because many of what happens is psychological.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, majority of what happens is psychological.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, as many, just like any other function that gives us problems, we need, of course, to rule out any organic causes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first step, right? The first step is to go to the urologist or family physician and discuss the situation. And then again, I see that many men that I have faced having this problem in therapy,
mm-hmm.
they refuse to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the problem continues, even though that they get into arguments and fights with their wives or with their partners, still, when it comes for them to go to see their physicians, there is a big, oh no, it will go away. Right. It will go away, and or I have this supplement that's going to help me, or I have this herbal tea that's going to help me, or if I get some massage, if I just get more sleep, it's going to help me.
And sometimes it does just go away.
Yes.
And sometimes the supplements do help. But what do you think the resistance to going to see a urologist is about?
Well, one is the denial that I don't have a problem. That's one, right? And then number two, I think, is the shame.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. It's the shame.
Yeah, you're not a real man if you can't get and maintain an erection.
Right.
Yeah.
And so some may, those who haven't had this experience may ask, what are the symptoms? How do you know that when a man has a, erectile, malfunction or dysfunction, or when to see a doctor? So according to Mayo Clinic, it says that if there are concerns about erectile and experiencing, that, causing sexual problems, so one of the sexual problems actually can show itself in the form of premature or delayed ejaculation that should describe at the beginning of program. Right. And then for some people, premature ejaculation, can be secondary situation or can be primary. So primary means that when they first start to have sex with somebody, to have intercourse, and they prematurely ejaculate, or they have a delayed one. And then secondary is that they have a lifelong, healthy, ejaculation, right, with orgasm and everything, and then suddenly, a situation happens, and then they lose that ability to maintain ejaculation until the right moment of their sexual activity. So then we know that something, dramatically has happened, and then psychological impact of it show itself as a premature, ejaculation.
Right.
So that's the one that, the person needs to see, his physician. The other thing that impacts erectile, functioning is people who have, diabetes, type 2, heart disease, and then, and so these are the main two that actually can cause that, right? I'm not sure if the medication, of course, medication that they are, used for heart disease or for diabetes can impact sexual desire, right? So that's another thing, that when sexual desire is low, obviously erection, doesn't happen. Right. And then we see that among couples that they come and see us, and usually the female partner says, since his heart disease, right, he doesn't like me anymore. Or I don't think he's attracted to me anymore, right? Well, it's not that. It's the medication that actually, has caused that. Also, fear of having any excitement, because they think that if they have an excitement, they may have a heart attack.
And that actually is a realistic fear.
Yeah, it is.
And actually did happen to my grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
While he was having sex with my grandmother, he had a heart attack and died.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's not a myth. It can
It's not a
actually
myth.
happen.
It can actually happen. Yeah.
Right.
And of course, if you've already had a heart attack, then you have that at the back of your mind. We were just talking before about the subconscious. So if you're afraid in the back of your mind, it doesn't mean, even if you are feeling attracted and you do have the desire, you may subconsciously inhibit yourself, which can then affect your erection. You can either have trouble getting an erection, or you can have premature ejaculation, so that you consciously get it over with quickly, so that you don't have to worry that you're getting too excited.
Exactly. Yes, and actually, that kind of a thought process is one of the background reasons that causes premature ejaculation.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Right. And then men don't realize that. Why is that happening? Is that happening? So they said, I didn't experience it. How did this happen to me?
Mm-hmm.
So subconsciously, there are many factors that are major players here.
Absolutely.
Right? And
Absolutely.
those factors are environmental factor, relationship problem,
Yeah.
job situations, physical problems, organic problems, a fight with the boss,
Mm-hmm.
fear of not getting the promotion, or the
Can be any kind of
can be
stressor.
anything, a stressor.
Any
Yes.
kind of stressor.
Yes.
You mentioned relationship problems, and I think that bears a lot more communication about, because relationship problems are very we want to feel love and loved.
Mm-hmm.
Every human being, male and female, we want to feel love and loved. And if the relationship is not providing that for us, we may develop a resentment, a conscious and or subconscious resentment toward our partner. We may also protect ourselves by trying to turn our loving feelings off, and along with our loving feelings can go our sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be true with men and women.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So when we feel like I'm in a relationship where I don't know that I'm loved, or I can love, so
Mm-hmm.
that intimacy kind of becomes impacted.
Right.
The sense of romance becomes impacted.
Exactly.
And then we know that negative emotions target us. One of the areas that targets us is physics. Our physics becomes a target of it.
Our physical. Yeah.
Yeah. And then what happens? In this case, men feel unable to have an erection.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Like I say, it affects both men and women, and women, if they aren't feeling the kind of connection and the love that they have felt in the past, or that they need to feel, they can just psychologically turn themselves off, so that they don't have the desire, and then if they kind of force themselves to do it in order to please the husband, it can be very unrewarding for both of them.
Yes, and then our body senses that.
Well, yeah, my therapist has said to me, the cells of the body eavesdrop
Mm-hmm.
on the thoughts of our mind.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so that has a lot to do with the subconscious, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we're subconsciously thinking things, but we're not fully aware of it, it definitely affects our physicality.
Exactly. And then that's why, today there is a concept actually called body to body treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then the body to body treatment, it goes back to actually our infancy.
Mm-hmm.
When we are held by our parents, when we are first born and we are given back to our mom, so we can experience her skin next to us.
Mm-hmm.
All this time, we grow up inside of her, and now suddenly we are out and into this unfamiliar environment,
Uh-huh.
right? So for sense of safety for us as infant to feel safe,
Yeah.
we are given back to our mom to, to again hear, her heartbeat, smell her, feel her skin, feel her warmth, feel her voice, feel her touch. And so, this is how we learn that, and this is how our body actually, every cell, in our body remembers the safety, remembers the
Uh-huh.
sense of love,
Uh-huh.
right? And it's an article I read not too long ago said, our gut, our first brain.
Or what?
Our gut,
Our gut.
our first brain.
Our gut is our first brain.
First brain,
Uh-huh.
yes. So but so yes, that's how they say it. But an aspect of that article was talking about, body to body, touch,
Mm-hmm.
and how the information we capture right from the onset of our life,
Right.
carries, it stays within us, and we want that body to body, exchange of love, exchange of sense of safety.
Absolutely.
Right.
So if you, our audience, have any thoughts about this, if you've experienced either yourself, someone you know, or a partner has a problem with their sexuality, premature ejaculation, please give us a call.
Yes.
951-922-3532. And we're about to take a break, and we will see you right after the break is over.
Absolutely. To Heart program, Dr. Mitra and Dr. Robert here offering you another episode of Human Sexuality, with the main topic being erectile dysfunction. And this is a very common problem among a group of men, and we are here to kind of provide you some information about that. We would love to hear from you. Please call us 951-922-3532. After all, this program is meaningless if you're not present, right? We just don't want to just talk to on the screen. So we hope that you're hearing us. We know Sean is there, our program director. So and we do hope that you're here as well, and you're benefiting from what we're discussing here. What do you think, Dr. Jaffe?
I'm with you 1,000%, and we would love to hear from you guys. So let us know you're out there.
Exactly. And then if you're not here today, but you're hearing us, you can go to our Facebook and Heart to Heart Counseling, and pick up the programs that you left behind, and we are happy to talk to you. And we are also on KMET Facebook Live. So going back to the causes of erectile dysfunction,
right,
which is we know today it's a complex situation, because we don't know exactly sometimes, for most part, where does it originate. We know it's either organic or psychological, and so the organic causes are easy to detect.
Right, and sometimes organic causes create psychological causes, so that even if the organic causes are dealt with and resolved, the psychological causes, if they haven't been addressed, continue to create the symptoms.
Exactly. So here are some of the organic causes, right? I need to put my glasses on. So it says, it's a complex process that involves the brain, hormones, emotions, nerves, muscles, and blood vessels, right? And so erectile dysfunction can result from a problem with any of these. Also, it says stress and mental health concerns can cause or worsen erectile dysfunction. So even if somebody who experiences the physiological aspect of it and experiences that from a organic perspective, that can, like you said, can also cause psychological problem.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
So we see that how one kind of triggers the other one. Right. And we talk about some of the psychological problems, such as self-esteem and of course relationship problems, and that's the part that really that part requires lots of, educating the couple about how erectile function dysfunction happens. And of course, the causes of that can be situational, can be, specific, tailored to the person's, psyche and physics. So I mean, we have some general criterias, but then again, it's not like cookie cutter kind of a thing. So everybody has its own situation as to why they have, a specific situation as to why they experience, this kind of a disorder, this kind of a dysfunction.
Right.
Right. And so providing education to couples, both about the dysfunction and both about that this is not about not loving your partner.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the first thing that a female usually goes to, is in the area, I'm no longer lovable, I'm no longer desirable, or even otherwise, why he's not paying attention to me. Or the second thing that I hear, which is very common, he probably has an affair somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
He probably has an affair somewhere. So when he comes home, of course, he had all the sex he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So why would he pay attention to the little old me?
Mm-hmm.
I'm always here. So he's looking for something more exciting.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is no, and men don't like to talk about their, erectile dysfunction.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like to tell their partner, guess what? I'm not able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And
Mm-hmm.
then it's hard for them to admit that something's going wrong.
Right.
And sometimes they don't want to even discuss the challenge or the problem that they're experiencing that has caused that emotionally has caused, the erectile functioning.
Mm-hmm.
Because maybe they just want to keep it a secret. Maybe.
Or they want to keep it a secret from themselves.
For themselves too.
From themselves.
Right.
We call that denial.
Right.
And denial is very, very common and very prevalent in humanity. We deny things that are very obvious,
Mm-hmm.
Both about ourselves, about others, and about the world. And the reason for denial is it's to use the name of the movie. It's an inconvenient truth.
Right.
We don't want to believe it, creating that movie, An Inconvenient Truth, which was, of course, about global warming, is really an example of how people don't want to see something that's going on when it becomes when it can become overwhelming to them. So they don't want to believe that it's going on. And what we know in psychology is that as long as you can't admit that there's a problem, the chances of that problem getting resolved are pretty small.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And then once we don't face the problem doesn't go away.
Mm-hmm.
So the impact of that is like in the back of our mind is constantly present.
Right.
So that's where the psychological symptoms happens usually,
Mm-hmm.
right? When we have unresolved issues.
Right.
And then we don't want to talk about those unresolved issues. We don't want to look at, we don't want to even think about those unresolved issues.
Right. And the unresolved issues can be because we are sensitive as human beings. We're sensitive to other people's feelings. We're sensitive to other people's words and behaviors. And if somebody close to us, if a spouse, for example, says something and it comes across harshly, or we feel demeaned by it, we don't address it in that moment and resolve it in that moment, we can store it in our subconscious, which can then come back later in the form of a symptom. One of those symptoms, of course, being that we don't get erections or that we can't maintain the erection.
Exactly.
It can come as a result of something that simple. And of course, if that happens many times, then it can become very, very prevalent in the relationship.
Right, right. And then, however, the first place that usually couple go is that, I'm no longer desirable, I'm not loved,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not understood, or I don't have somebody to share my difficulties with.
Right.
So we see that how it targets a relationship. So it says that the anxiety as a result of, all of that can lead to a worsened kind of a, erectile dysfunction. And the article elaborates more about physical causes of erectile dysfunction, right? So in many cases, we talked about, heart disease. It's also talking about clogged blood vessels. Well, yeah, that makes sense, right? Because if the
Well, that's what heart disease
heart
is.
disease, yeah, heart
It's
disease is,
clogged
yeah,
blood
yeah,
vessels.
exactly.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised that they have them next to each other
Uh-huh.
on top of heart disease and then clogged blood vessels.
Well, clogged
Yeah.
blood vessels, of course, when you're talking about the blood flow into the penis,
Yeah.
that's if you don't get the blood flow, you're not going to get the erection.
The erection, yes. I guess that's where, maybe that's what they meant.
Mhm.
And also high cholesterol. High cholesterol, I don't know if somebody with a high cholesterol of 200 can get, erectile dysfunction. So that must be really
Mhm.
severe for them to get impact. And I guess, high cholesterol can cause, kind of clogged blood vessels.
I think high cholesterol is one of the causes
Right.
of clogged blood vessels because cholesterol is fat in the blood.
Right.
And so it can slow down the bloodstream, and therefore you're not getting the amount of blood into the penis that you need in order to get and maintain an erection.
Right.
But our work really, like you said at the beginning, is to first, of course, eliminate any possible physiological problem.
Right.
And then, of course, if there is a physiological problem, then that needs to be treated and resolved first.
Right.
But we usually get the people, who after they eliminated that as a possible causation, we then get the people who recognize, okay, if it's not physiological, then it has to be psychological, and then we have the task of helping the person unravel what it is and help them to change their thought patterns, which will then affect their feelings, which will then affect how they function sexually.
Exactly. So basically, going further with this, my experience working with men who have erectile dysfunction issues, they had to go through a lifestyle change.
Mm-hmm.
And this change of lifestyle, looking at the list of, physical causes, which we see high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, metabolic syndrome, and, tobacco use and alcohol and sleep and all of that. And of course, low testosterone. We see, and I'm including low testosterone specifically because, if exercise is not part of daily routine, right, we lose muscles. Right. And we need muscles to have testosterone. Right.
Right.
So I have seen, men that female, partners usually are more into exercise because they want to keep their shape. But male partners usually are not so much into that.
Right.
So and all of these physical symptoms that they're talking about, it can cause, can happen as a result of malnutrition or, bad eating habit or lack of sleep and then not exercising and, excessive drinking or using, conventional, drugs and all of that. So it's a change of lifestyle. In other words, we need to stay on top of our health, not just, emotional. I mean, emotional health and physical health, they're all related. We can't separate them. Yeah, we can't separate them. So eating well, eating, healthy diet, exercising, getting enough sleep, getting enough rest. These are all conditions that certainly helps, maintaining, a firm erection.
And now you're getting into the area which I'd like to talk about next week, self-care.
Self-care.
Right.
Okay.
And then how and why do do we take care of ourselves, and how and why don't we take care of ourselves?
Okay,
Right?
perfect. So I think that's a good thing to look forward to. Our program is ending right now, and then we're gonna see you back at the hour 4 o'clock this afternoon. So please join us. And until then, and until next week for another episode of Human Sexuality, don't forget that all you need is love.
All you need is love.
Bye bye.
We'll see you in a few minutes, hopefully. Bye bye.